for cold, hard sports talk with your hosts, Ty Gore, Matt Barrett, and Jake Woods.
Alrighty, boys, we are here now with our guest, Dave Stevens. Dave played in the WHL, the QMJHL, the BCHL, the Maritimes Junior Hockey League, as well as playing U Sports and CIS hockey with Mount Royal University, where our boy Matty B did some play-by-play for him in his learning days. Dave, how's it going?
Good. How are you boys doing?
Good.
Awesome.
Glad to get you on here. Gonna dive right in here. First thing I want to ask about your build from Whitehorse, Yukon. What's the hockey like up in Whitehorse?
It's definitely getting a lot better now. I mean, you guys probably heard of Dylan Cousins. He's kind of
okay. I've heard of that guy.
He's kind of put a bigger spotlight on Whitehorse for people growing up there. But for me, I mean, I kind of grew up there, played there till my last year bantam, and I was kind of at that point where I had to kind of decide if I wanted to pursue hockey a bit. And I talked to my parents, and we decided that I would go try out for the Fort St. John AAA team there, and then I ended up making that team for my first year midgets. And yeah, I mean, like I said, it's definitely growing there with Cousins kind of putting a spotlight on the kids there. But yeah, just there's not the competition. I mean, you're playing kind of house league teams and kind of older rec league teams. So if you kind of want to pursue hockey, you kind of have to make that decision if you want to move down south to kind of pursue it.
So you walked in Whitehorse before Dylan Cousins could run, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm 28 now.
You pave the path.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think he knows much about me, but I kind of just followed my brother's steps because he moved away when he was in midget as well to the Moncton Wildcats. So I kind of saw him pursuing hockey, and I just want to kind of do the same as him.
And now I believe you're like 8 years older than Cousins. Did you hear about him at all, like growing up as like this wonderkind from your hometown?
To be honest, like not so much when he was younger, but I live in Calgary now, and kind of once he started playing in Lethbridge, I'll just go watch him play whenever they're in Calgary, and I've just been following him ever since. And obviously he's a tremendous player, and I just wish the best for him, and I hope all the success for him in the NHL. So
all right, so moving back onto your career, we're not just going to have you talk about others.
Yeah. That's usually what happens.
You played your U18 AAA with a club called the Caribou Cougars. I just want to ask, like, is that the best team name you've ever played for? The Caribou Cougars.
The best name? Yeah,
like,
I don't know.
I was like, yeah, I'm a Caribou Cougar. Gonna throw that in the Twitter bio.
Yeah, it's kind of an odd name, but no, I just went there. Like I said, I went to Fort St. John, and then they actually called me up that first year to play in that major midget league. And then the next year, I ended up going back there and had a really good year. And it was ran by a coach named Trevor Sprague, and he just did a really good job at kind of developing us. And it just kind of gave me all the opportunity in the world to, make that jump to the junior level.
Yeah, talking about that, next year you played with the Edmonton Oil Kings, who were just kind of on the cusp of going on that great run they had. The year after your first year with them, they went on to go win the WHL championship and play in the Memorial Cup. A couple years later, winning the Memorial Cup. So you got with the Oil Kings just before they went on this kind of run. What was like in the locker room that year with like all these future high-end players?
Yeah, so for me, like I wasn't drafted by them, but I got listed with them my first year when I was with the Caribou Cougars. And I don't know, just going into that team, obviously they had a really good foundation there, and you could tell when my first year they were building towards a championship. And for me, like it was tough just because they had so many good players, and I was kind of on the bubble of the fourth line and just kind of in and out of the lineup. So for me, it was just kind of hard to get my foot in the ground there, just with, such a stacked team. And Yeah, I mean, the group there, I mean, they were really tight knit and just a tremendous group of guys. And it kind of tells just how they were so successful with, the coaching staff and the core group of guys there.
Yeah. So you could feel even that year that team was kind of getting ready to be something special.
Yeah, for sure. You could just tell, you could feel it. They brought in some key players that second year. I think they brought in Samuelson. He was a high-end draft pick. They traded for Maxwell. There's great leadership there with, Pesic. He's with Dallas now, I believe. And just the culture there. Coach Laxdal, he just did a great job with kind of building a foundation and kind of creating that winning culture. But like I said, for me, it was just tough, right? Going in, not a draft pick, kind of, in and out of the lineup, and just hard for me to get my foot in the door there with just such a good team.
What was your process like that year? Like, was there like the option to maybe play with some junior A clubs, or was there anyone else who was kind of on your radar to play with if the spot wasn't there in Edmonton?
Yeah, so Powell River, like a few guys from Whitehorse, Reed Campbell, Alex McDougall, they were in Powell River. They also had a really good team, and they really wanted me to go there. But just when I had my 17-year-old camp in Edmonton, I had a really good camp, and I just thought at the time that was kind of the best path for me. But I don't know, looking back, going to such a good team, it kind of, put a halt in my development just because I didn't get to play too much. And I had a lot of injury problems to start there in Edmonton as well. And yeah, I don't know, it just didn't really play out for me there, but I still really enjoyed it.
And then, the next season you played just a little cup of coffee in Edmonton and ended up in Peninsula with the Panthers. What led to that transition there?
I had a lot of concussion problems, and at that point, I just kind of lost like my drive and just wasn't really having, I wasn't really enjoying it as I used to. And I just had a couple of buddies and played in the VIHL for the Peninsula Panthers. And I just thought, for me, I just wanted to, play a lot and just have fun with hockey again and just kind of get that passion back. So I just went there for, I think, half a season, and I just really enjoyed it. And I kind of got that passion. I just really enjoyed the game again after that.
Definitely got your offensive touch back. 13 points in 10 regular season games, 23 and 17 playoff games. So yeah, definitely seems like you were enjoying yourself.
Yeah, it was fun. And we had a really good team, and we went to the finals, but it's too bad we came up short against the Victoria team there. But yeah, like you said, I enjoyed it, and it was a lot of fun.
I actually want to touch on that season really quickly. So just looking at the stats, throughout your career, you weren't exactly a guy that took a ton of penalties. And then looking at this 2011-12 playoff run, you had 52 PIMs in 17 games. Was there a certain incident that happened during that playoff run? Did something click in your head where you changed your playing style? Like what happened during that playoff run?
I just think the hockey, it was just a bit chippy, and I think I was just really wanted to win, and our team was really driven. And I don't remember a certain instance where I got all those PIMs, to be honest, but I just think it was due to the chippiness and kind of that playoff style hockey, right?
So then moving into the next year, you split the season between the Moncton Wildcats of the QMJHL and Prince George Spruce Kings of BCHL. Once again, just go into that year. What was the mindset like, and what were the kind of options in front of you?
Yeah, so with Moncton, like my brother, he played there for 4 years, and I knew the coach, Danny Flynn, and he used to run hockey camps in the Yukon in the summer, and he kind of noticed me when I was younger, and he actually wanted me to go there before I went to Edmonton, but they picked me up, so that kind of put a halt to that. But when he saw I left Edmonton, he wanted me to go there for training camp, and I just had a really good camp, and ended up making the team. But they were also going for it too that year, so they had a lot of good players. And once again, I just found myself, that fourth line role, and wasn't playing much. And it was my 19-year-old year, so basically my whole junior year or career, I was basically, in and out of the lineup on, or in the fourth line. And just like, that kind of sucks, right? Just, you're 19, you haven't really experienced, the junior level playing a lot. And for me, I thought if I got the opportunity, like I could, put up some numbers, but they just had such a good team there with Yaskin and, Barbashev and all those guys, and they were going for it. So I just kind of fell into that fourth line role again. And at Christmas, I just made that decision. I wanted to play as a 19-year-old. So I ended up going back to Prince George. I had some buddies there who I played with on that Caribou Cougar team, and they kind of reached out to me and said they had a spot for me. So I ended up going there and just had a lot of fun with that. I was first, second line playing, top minutes, and it's too bad we didn't really make a push in playoffs. We had a really good team, but it's just, the way it goes sometimes.
Well, I was looking at that team, and you mentioned Yaskin and Barbashev. You go down the list, Philip Deneau's on that team as well.
And they brought in, like when I left, I
Garland.
think they brought in Connor Garland. So
yeah,
when they brought in Garland, I was like, okay, there's no way like I'm gonna be really playing. Like this guy was, really high touted and a lot of skill, and obviously you see him doing well in the NHL now. So yeah, I was just at that point where, I kind of wanted to play, and I was getting old. So I just made the decision to leave and take my, end of my career to Prince George.
And then the next year was the first time in a while you spent a full season with the same team. You played with the Weeks Crushers in the Maritimes Junior League, and you
also another great name.
I don't know where they come up with these names, but
had a great season there. 45 points in 41 games, 10 points in 11 playoff games. Was it just nice being able to spend a full season with the same club?
Yeah, a bit of a suitcase, but yeah, so I knew Mitch Durwell in Moncton. Like I became really tight with him, and after that Prince George year, like we got in touch and he said that they were going for it. So kind of as a 20-year-old, I didn't really win anything in junior, and I just thought it'd be a great opportunity. Like Mitch Durwell, he was a really good player. And him as a 20-year-old, I knew that if I went there, we could potentially make a run for it. And I just got in contact with the coach, Jason Malone, and, he kind of convinced me to head back out east. And, that was probably my funnest year in junior. It's kind of like my first full team, like you said, full season with, the same team. And we had a lot of success, but when playoffs came around, I don't know, just a lot of, unlucky bounces, and yeah, it just didn't go our way. But it was a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed that as well.
When you've played your career, you've played in, all over BC. You've gone coast to coast to the Q and to Maritimes and stuff. Do you kind of look back and say, like, this is kind of cool that I was able to like kind of travel and just see all these different parts of Canada while playing hockey?
Yeah, I mean, like just what you see in like the different leagues, even just seeing the competition, like going from the dub to the Q, it's just back then to me, it was just a way different game. I mean, the WHL is a bit different now, but kind of when I first joined, it was a bit more hard nosed. You'd see fights basically every night, and I just thought the Q, it was a lot of skill and it was very fast. So just seeing like the different aspects of the leagues was really cool for me, and I definitely learned a lot.
So the following year, after your time in the Maritimes, you went to Mount Royal in Calgary, then playing in the CIS. Was the idea always that you kind of wanted to play some school and kind of keep the hockey thing going here?
Like when I was 20, you're kind of at that point, right, where you kind of are thinking of you kind of got to get your life in line. But the coach at Mount Royal, he reached out to me, and they just made the transition from college hockey to the university level. So he was bringing in like a lot of good junior A players, and he just reached out to me. And I always wanted to go to school, but I was kind of at that point I didn't really know like what I wanted to do. But he reached out to me, like offered me some scholarships, and I ended up going there, and yeah, I mean, Mount Royal was awesome. I mean, just a great group of guys, and it's probably the best 5 years for me is, playing hockey and going to school.
I will second that Mount Royal is absolutely awesome.
Yeah, I mean, It's a smaller school, but it feels more. It doesn't really feel like a university, to be honest, just because the smaller class size and kind of are more in touch with your profs, and you kind of build friendships in the classroom just because it's so small. But no, it was an awesome time, and nothing bad to say about Mount Royal.
What'd you end up taking there?
My first year, I just did open studies, and then I got into the business program, and I graduated 2 years ago.
So on the hockey side, Matty B can attest, like there's some like very cool stuff that happens at Mount Royal. Like was there any like big highlights there from like just a hockey perspective? Any cool like university hockey matches? Like that university teams, they always have like these crazy college kid fans coming to the games.
Yeah, so each year they host, I don't know if you guys have heard of it, but the Crowchild Classic.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It's probably like obviously the funnest game of the year, and it's just it's a UFC Dinos versus the Mount Royal Cougars, and it's played in the Saddle Dome, so they basically sell out like the lower bowl, and it's usually in front of around like 10 to 12,000 people. So it's a lot of fun for the players, and obviously a lot of fun for the fans.
I've called one of those Crowchild Classics, and if I'm not mistaken, almost all of them go to overtime, right? Like, how cool is that to be like overtime, 1-goal games? Like, it must be just absolutely bananas.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Like, every year I played, just the games were so tight, and every year it seemed to go to overtime, but every year we would always lose in overtime, which is I don't know why. Like a couple times we were up 4-1, and the Dinos just came back and would take it in overtime. But at the end of the day, like it's a lot of fun. Like, it almost feels like a mini amplified almost NHL game with all the fans, and the fans are just absolutely like going wild the whole game, and
just a drunk university students, right?
They're just all hammered, and and they never really see the hockey games. Like, when we play in the season, we don't get too many fans, but it's good for them to get out, and like university hockey is good hockey, so it's good for them to come check out the hockey, have fun, and yeah, it's just a good experience all around.
Is there one Crowchild Classic moment or game for you personally that sticks out to you, or maybe there's a couple of them?
I think the first year, like that's the only year we won when I was there. That was probably the biggest highlight for me, just winning that game, and after just being around the guys and just having fun with that. But I actually had a big goal, and I think it was my third year, and I remember the crowd just went wild, and I'll always remember that.
I do believe I was on the call for that game, so we're gonna try and find it. Yeah,
yeah, that's awesome.
We'll try and find it on. I'll try and find it somewhere, and we'll post it on socials just so we can get that sort of connection there.
Yeah,
now we talked to we had one of your teammates from your third year Mount Royal, Colton Waltz, on probably about 2 months ago now. Can you just talk about Waltz? He was like as a teammate, because he's like blueprint textbook definition of what a hockey guy is in many people's minds.
I mean, he's a great guy, obviously big personality, and on ice, I mean, he's a really good player. I mean, he can play the D side of things. You can put him on the power play. You can shut guys down, and he only stayed there for a year, which is too bad. I mean, we could have used him for his remaining 3, but all in all, he was a great player and just a better guy. So
yeah, absolute beauty. Playing pro over in France right now. Having a great season out there. I think he's over a point per game as a defenseman over there. Absolutely tearing it up. But also I want to mention something that Walty mentioned. That third year, the Crowchild Classic. Does that stick out to you in how god awful the U of C's jerseys were?
Oh, yeah.
The red and yellow
they're just
mess.
like brutal. I mean,
they were mustard yellow.
Yeah, they're just so bright and disgusting. I didn't really understand it, but I guess that's how it goes.
Yeah, honestly, the jerseys that look like an off-brand McDonald's
Yeah,
sponsorship.
it looked like a McDonald's brand or something.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Oh, they were terrible. Oh, they were awful.
Yeah.
Oh.
Walty brought those up and we had to search them up and we just could not believe just who would sign off on making those.
Yeah, but just like Mount Royal, obviously, our first 3 years we had like such a good team, and just too bad. I mean, I think we could have made a push there our first 3 years, and we just ran into our first year. We ran into UFC and the second round, and that went 3 rounds. But I thought we were going to take it that year, and like we got in a lot of penalty trouble in that third game, and it kind of costed us. And then the last 2 years, we just ran into U of A, and they're just such a powerhouse, and like any mistake he makes just amplified, and they're just such a good team. It's hard to beat them, and they kind of just dominate that league, right?
Yeah, how hard is it when you know U of S and U of A are just going to be there at the end? Like, how hard is it as like a player playing against them, being like, oh great, we got to go up against Alberta and Saskatchewan 4 times this year?
Yeah, just like every year you kind of highlight those games, and obviously with Bert Gilling there, he's a really good coach. He puts a lot of work in, but when you run into those teams, like if you don't bring your A game or even better, like you're just not going to win, right? They're just so deep. They recruit the best players. Like U of A, they'll recruit guys. They basically all go pro after, and
they're grabbing guys coming off of 95-point seasons in the dub.
You look at their recruits every year, it's just like, holy shit, like 90 points, 80 points, like drafted to the show. And Mount Royal, like our first 3 years, it was kind of hard to recruit people there, right? Like the highly touted, prospects they usually choose, like U of S, U of C, or obviously U of A. So I just think the only way you can kind of get by those guys is, through hard work and good systems. But every year they seem to win, and just because they have the best players, right?
One player that like that Mount Royal recruited during your time there that stood out to you, like, holy crap, we got this guy, like this is another step in that.
I mean, besides yourself, of course.
Yeah, besides yourself, obviously. Yeah.
No. So like my first couple of years, we had Tyler Fiddler. He was probably the best player I've seen at Mount Royal. He's probably the best player in the league, in my opinion. Cody Cartier, he was a really good player. Matt Brown, like that was our top line. Like our first couple of years, and I thought they were probably the best line in the league. Then after that, there's Cam McLeese too. He was really good. He came over from the Maritime League, like the University League out there, and
New Brunswick, right?
Yeah, New Brunswick, and he was really good. I mean, he did really well at Mount Royal and ended up signing the AHL contract. And then kind of my tail end of my career, they got in, like they're starting to get better. WHL guys were putting up higher numbers in that league, just because I think we kind of built the foundation there that, Mount Royal, we were finishing top 3 every year. So kind of attracted more players, and they brought in like Riley Lindgren. He was a really good player. I think he is like a point a game in the dub. Who else did Bert bring in?
Connor Rankin was a name that stuck out to me.
Yeah, Connor Rankin. They brought him in too. He was really good. I mean, we got him my second year for the second half, and he was a really good player, obviously. Just a goal scorer, very offensive. And yeah, I mean, Bert brought in some good guys, but when you compare it to, U of A, like basically their top 4 lines are almost a point a game in the dub, right? So it's just hard to match that depth.
Did that kind of have you with the Cougars kind of like embrace the underdog mentality when you're like having to compete against teams like that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, our first year was crazy. I mean, besides that top line, like majority of our team was basically like junior A guys. But I mean, Bert there, he was just really motivative. He just really created like a good culture that, he's all in. All he wants to do is win. And that first year was crazy. I mean, we I think we won like the first, 8 games of the year, and we just kept it rolling through playoffs. And it's too bad that, we lost that game 3 to UFC. It was just such a fun year and such a, tight knit group of guys, and, coming that close, especially in my first year, it's just like, you think you're going to get that close again, but unfortunately that didn't happen. But that first year, I mean, we were definitely the underdog. We had basically, one really, really good line, and the other guys kind of just, worked their bags off, and it paid off. We were just outworking teams and, winning games.
If you had to think about your university career as a whole, like what would the highlight be of it?
The highlight, I just met so many people, and every year it just seemed that, we were so close, and just the friendships I built that 5 years, it was just incredible. I mean, looking back at my hockey career, that was definitely, the best 5 years. And that was the team that, I enjoyed the most, just because I met so many people, and now I'm still in Calgary. I'm still in touch with them. And it was just a really good experience. I really enjoyed it.
One other thing we like to ask some of our guests who come on, do you have any like weird or unique like superstitions or traditions you do before games?
Not too much. I think kind of a weird one is I put like the left skate on, left shin pad on, left elbow pad on first. I don't know why, but I just kind of did that growing up, and it kind of just stuck with me.
Is there some weird superstitions from other guys that you played with that stick out to you as like just some of the weirdest shit you've seen?
Emerson Hrenek, you should get him on here. He's an animal.
Oh god, yeah.
But after every warm-up, he would freaking rip his gear off, and then I don't know where you'd go. You'd like disappear, and then about 5 minutes before you'd get dressed again. I didn't really understand it, but he did that every game.
Like ice bath maybe or something?
I think he might have hopped in the shower, but he would literally rip off all his gear. I think he would jump in the shower and then just get dressed again.
That's one way to do it.
I don't know.
Get nice and clean before the game, I guess.
Yeah, it obviously worked for him. The guy was an animal. Like, do you guys ever see him play?
I saw him play a few times. Yeah.
Yeah, you just freaking.
He was a beast.
Oh man, probably the biggest hitter I've ever seen. Like every game, you'd blow like 2 or 3 guys up. Like not just like mediocre hits, but massive. Like he was out there to like hurt people. It was nuts.
Happy to be on his side of the ice.
Yeah, no, I would hate to play against that guy, but he's a great guy. He's like one of my close buddies now, and I still stay in touch with him. So
yeah, awesome. Just searching him up, racked up a nice clean 117 PIMs in the Elite Ice Hockey League in UK.
Yeah, so, I think he went over there, and like he was a fan favorite. I mean,
I can see why.
I think he was just crushing guys, and I think he was fighting a lot. Yeah, too bad with him and the U sport. You're not allowed to fight, right? So
yeah,
you'd get like angry, and he'd just have to hold back a bit. But I think when he went over there, like he was allowed to fight, and he did well. So I think he really enjoyed it.
Actually, now that you mentioned the not allowed to fight in U sports, there's one. I guess one incident with the University of Lethbridge that really sticks out. I forget what year it was, but there was a rivalry brewing with the U of L, and I don't know if it was a line brawl or what. Do you remember anything from that? Do you remember what I'm talking about?
I think I remember hearing about that, but I think there's just like there might have been a line brawl, but
yeah,
I can't really remember on the top of my head.
I know, because I thought for something like someone cross-checked some guy in the head, I thought, when he was down. Like, I don't remember exactly. I thought you might have remembered a bit of that, but it was weird.
Yeah, I remember.
You weren't allowed to fight.
Yeah, I don't know about that rule. Just like I don't know, if you want to fight, just let them fight. I just think it's a part of the game, right? But like I think if you fight, you get like a 2 or 3 game suspension. But
yeah, something like that. Anyways, Dave, thank you very much for taking the time to come on and talk to us a bit about your career. It was a fun chat. We really appreciate having you on.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, have a good one.